Whoa! Okay. Howdy! One moment here. How low did I have the music before? I don't recall. Because whatever music level I had last time was, like, perfect. Oh well. I could decrease, but I like to keep that where it is. Excuse me. Ooh. Okay. But this now seems too low. I don't know. How about I open up... What would happen if I open up the stream myself and just look at it? That's the best way for me to be able to exactly tell. That's the best way for me to be able to exactly tell. Oh, well, wait. Okay. Oh, well, wait. Okay. Okay. I think we're good. I wish this mouse wasn't so clicky. You can hear every single little click out of this mouse. Anyway. Boop! Didn't we look at this last time? Anyway. Howdy! Sorry for all of that. Woo! Howdy, howdy. So we are here today to continue with coding. With the ribbon. Yeah! So, I don't know how much detail I really want to go into with all the stuff that I've done last stream. But I will say is... I guess I'll run over a few points from last time and kind of go from there. The first big thing to note is that the... Sorry, I'm just moving stuff around over here. The stream from last Sunday, I've actually posted a highlights reel of it. Basically, it was an hour-and-a-half long stream, and I just made a little highlights thing out of it. Still like 45 minutes, which is still a considerable amount of time. But it's at least half of it cut out, I think. 45, hour-and-a-half. Yeah. So if you're looking for a quicker rundown of what all I did last stream, there is that. But for an even quicker rundown, what I did last stream is we focused on developing the actual code behind the scenes that will help with just kind of making things work. There isn't anything in the sense of calculations or actual real logic put in here, but there is enough that is in here that, in combination with what I'm going to be doing today, ideally, we'll be able to show something on screen later. And you can actually see the fruits of the labor. I'm reminded of a post that I saw on Reddit a little bit ago, not a little bit, like a couple months ago at this point, about something about like a web designer just sitting in a room at like 2 a.m. staring at a computer screen like this and just clicking a button on a blank web page over and over again with like excitement and fascination. And sometimes that's just how it feels. You just spend hours on a thing just to open it up, and it's just so fascinating to actually see it on screen and actually working. For example, for me, and as a reminder, this library here, this code that I'm working on, it is called the Solid Shine UI library. It is a collection of controls and dialogues and other stuff that I have made that other programmers can use for their programs, assuming they have the same technology and setup and stuff that I'm using, which is, I think, becoming less and less the case nowadays. So in the future, I'm going to be looking to expand my work to work on more systems that ideally, hopefully, more people are using. But this control here, I showed it off a little bit, I talked about it a little bit last time. It's called a relative position select. And this was something that it took me about 2 or 3 days to put together. And I didn't even like look at the visuals at all during that time. It was just me working on code before I even actually did anything else. And then finally I built it all. I opened up this window as you see here, and I went to this page and I saw it, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's actually working. There was a couple bugs at first where sometimes when you're trying, because it likes to try to snap to these lines here if possible. It might be a little bit subtle, but you'd be able to see, especially if I did this. So it likes to try to snap to these lines here if you get close enough. But there was a bug at first where it wouldn't snap correctly. It would still instead snap something like this. So, but other than that, it worked pretty much as expected. So one small bug and an otherwise working control. I am happy with that. And ideally, hopefully, we'll do the same thing today with the ribbon. Put a new tab down here. Actually, it's alphabetical, so like around here. And first time I load it up and look at it, it'll work. That's the hope. That's the dream. We'll see how that goes. We ended last stream starting with work a little bit on the visual side of things. This code, quote unquote, here is the part that will actually tell the computer what to render on screen. This will be the stuff that actually decides how it looks. And so for today, we're going to be doing a lot more of that how it looks part and looking at working on this section. Between last stream and this one, I say as I'm rustling around some papers, I made some more notes to kind of share the things that I wanted to do. So I actually have marked down what the size and relative position of things are that I want, which is good because I was actually unsure about that at the end of last stream. There's a couple other things that I also was unsure of in last stream that we'll also have to tackle today, primarily how the resizing algorithm is going to work. So I'll have to decide that a bit later. But I'll start with showing you guys this note that I had made. Ooh. One moment. Sorry, my hands are a little bit shaky. So with these notes, you'll be able to see where exactly I'm thinking of, or how I'm thinking of doing this. You can see like pixel measurements along the sides of various things. This is ideally how the different sizes of controls of things are going to look. And we'll see how it turns out. I might, I can always make adjustments as needed. But for here and now, this is the plan. Okay. Excuse me. So we are going to dive into that. I'm actually going to take this page that I just showed you and I'm going to put it up here so I can reference it. Anyway. One note. You already have one note open? I did already have one note open. Well, now I have it open a second time. Hooray! Okay. The big things that we're going to have working today, ideally, will be the basic overall visuals and being able to put a couple of controls on there, but there's still going to be more controls that I'm going to have to work to put on. But ideally, if I can put in buttons and menus, then we'll be good. And I can add on the rest as we go along. Okay, so that is enough preamble. Let's actually start to dive into things. And as I mentioned in the previous stream, for a decent portion of this, there will be just a lot of me staring at the screen here and just doing stuff. So if... well, one moment. So if you want this to be something that you have on in the background or something like that, that's totally fine. Yeah. Because it'll be a lot of me just going working on the code and then clicking the button up here and doing that and occasionally seeing stuff happen. And I will try to describe things as I'm going along the way. As I was going over my previous stream, there's a number of things that I think I was pretty decent at describing, but there's also a number of things that I did not say out loud that I was doing, which kind of defeats the whole having this run in the background type of stuff. So I'll try to be better at that today. So yeah, if you wish to have this just running in the background, like playing in the background, I suppose is a better term. Playing in the background while you're doing other stuff or whatever, that's totally fine with me. Or if you want to be here with me and watching, that is also totally good. A couple big things to note for... No, let me rephrase that. One other thing that I'm going to note that maybe isn't actually that big of a thing is when we actually do start to see the visuals, things like colors and the font selection and things like that are still subject to change. I mean, everything here is subject to change. This is all like I had said before my first crack at this. So there will be stuff that I might have to tweak around. And finally, as a last reminder of what it is that I'm aiming for, here is an image of the thing that I am aiming for. So I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the ribbon control. If you've used Microsoft Office, if you have used... what other major controls? This is Autodesk. If you've used Autodesk software, I suppose. There's actually a lot of programs out there that are using the ribbon nowadays. Even if you look in recent versions of Windows, the WordPad still uses the ribbon. So you can find the ribbon in a lot of places nowadays. This specific design here, though, this is from Autodesk Revit, an architecture program, specifically the 2014 version, I suppose. I couldn't figure out where I put that image that I'd used last time as an example, so I've just found a new one instead. This one's from a much older version of Revit, but this is actually more familiar to me in terms of how Revit looked, because at the time that I was using Revit was in the early 2010s. So I think we were using like Revit 2013, or yes, precisely Revit 2013. So I was more used to this particular look rather than the one that we had shown last time, which came from a much newer version. So ideally this is what the end result is going to be similar to, in terms of having the tabs up here, having commands being able to be like this, and a couple special things with Autodesk with the Autodesk ribbon that you don't really find in other implementations. Is number one, having this little arrow down here where you can hide additional commands under here. I wish to implement that too. And in my control, it is called expanded items. I can scroll it up right here. One other fascinating thing. Oh, I just realized that I was just doing like this on the different layer. Okay. Sorry. Alright. So yeah, this arrow over here is what I was circling at before. And under here you'll have some items that's called the expanded items in my control. Another interesting thing that you can do is you can take a group by like the label down here and pull it off the ribbon and just have it floating elsewhere on the screen. And I thought that was really cool and really interesting and really unique, and I want to try to replicate that too. Yeah. This is all stuff that I mostly talked about last time as well. Either way, that is going to be that. And now that's enough preamble. Now let's actually get back to doing some coding. So like I had said here, this is the section that will actually help with, that will actually define the visuals, define how things look on screen. And more specifically, the section within this area called control template. This is the part that actually sets up the visuals. Yay. So last time we started a little bit with the ribbon group, which, to pull up the reference image, is again like these little groups with the separators on the sides. So here's a big group. Here's a group, here's a bigger group, here's a really small group, just one command. So that is the part that I'm building right now, is these individual groups. And then I will build downward into the actual individual buttons and commands from there, and then upwards to build the actual tabs and the full-on ribbon after that. But the ribbon group seemed like a logical place for me to start. Anyway. Woo! So what I defined last time is that a ribbon group will be divided into 3 sections. The first section, the top section, will be the one where the actual commands go. The buttons, the drop-downs, the text boxes, whatever else. And then on the bottom section will be where the group appears. And we're actually going to do this. Yeah. Oh, excuse me, where the title appears, I should say. Not just the group, but the group's title. So like the actual text at the bottom. And after giving it a little bit of thought, I think I would still like to support having a border between the label and the commands. To think about that word for a moment. But I'm not quite sure about... I think what I'm going to do is make that an option and make that option turned off by default. Because in modern implementations of the ribbons that you'll see nowadays, there isn't that line between the commands and the title. For example, allow me to compare this to this image. I'm just showing off visual examples today before actually getting into anything. So you can see how there's this line in this bottom section with the label is colored a different color. There's a bit of a line kind of separating the label from the actual commands. In modern implementations of the ribbon, you don't see that nowadays. There is no line. It just kind of blends in smoothly from commands and then the label down here. So by default, I'm probably going to do the same deal here, but I'm going to have this available as an option for people who want it. Yeah. 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 Anyway. Yes. Spend some time thinking about how exactly I want to design that. Okay. The thing itself is going to be 96 pixels tall at minimum. And actually, the other thing I'm going to do is name this row group header. And we're going to do that. How? Okay, one moment, please. How did I do? Did I do styles for a... I'm not seeing it. Okay. What if I were to do that, though? Right. Auto. And then we'll do row definition style. Ooh, you can set a style. Okay. Style, target type, text type, row definition. So this is where it starts to get messy and ridiculous. Well, not really messy, but it starts to get more complicated because you're gonna have to kind of take this base thing that I had built thus far, and then I add on different options and different things that people can change, and that starts to just muddy up the whole code. Min height. Ooh, value 16. 16. 16. Wow. Yeah. And then in here, I'll end up putting some triggers that'll allow that min height value to change. That's the reason why I had that. Oops. Property max height. I'll set a value of no. It's not gonna like that, is it? That number. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna do this. I'm just going back and forth. Height value auto. There we go. Cool. And then later, like I said, I'll add a trigger where if you change a property that says hide group header, then I'll hide the group headers, and then that means that with that trigger, this will be set to 0, this will be set to 0. It's hidden. Yay. However, the minimum height is not actually going to be just 16. It's going to be 16, 18, 21. 20. And I'm going to get rid of this, put that there. Never mind, I'm just going to straight up get rid of that at all. Okay. Yay. I'm going to have to work into doing inherited properties a bit later. But that is a thing for later me to decide. I did not think about how I'm going to do padding on the left and the right. We're going to start with 3 on the top, 1 on the bottom, and 1 on the other directions. Okay. Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. Next, we're going to put a grid here. And a grid is just basically a placeholder, which I can use to put stuff into and then divide it by putting it into sections, columns, rows, like this I did up here. This is a grid inside a grid. This grid is in the row that will be the header, because this is going to be the headers area. But guess what? It's going to be divided into columns. Okay. 3 things with that, and I'm gonna look at the code now for a moment. Launcher. Show launcher. Yes. That's what I want. Okay. The next thing I'm gonna have to figure out is the expanded items section. I'm probably gonna have to build a command for that. Ooh, commands. By the way, okay. Stretch that leg, stretch that leg. Okay. Sorry, just gonna take a moment here to think. Okay. Oh, not in here. And this is actually going to be named xname part header. So we're going to have a text block, and this is going to be in the first column, which is called column 0, because in programming we like to start at the number 0. And this is going to actually display the title. Name, title, UUID. Title. And I'm actually now also going to do the title to display at the bottom of the group. Use a title name that's succinct, describes the commands in this group, without being too generic. That are in this group. There we go. Okay. And I'm actually going to build the next thing now that I'm going to use for the trigger that I was just talking about. So for that, that's going to be called... What is it going to be called? Oh. Hide group. No, show group header. Yeah. Ribbon group. Property type, it's a Boolean, and by default it's going to be true. So this will be the property that developers are going to be able to use to hide the group labels if they do not want it. For some weird reason. I think it is always the best scenario. Okay. Get or set the title. And set if the header, which contains the group title and launcher, the group title and launcher icon is displayed at the bottom of the group or not. Perfect. Yeah. Alright. So now that that is put in there, I'm actually going to now fill in this section. So this is, again, the row that the groups will be put into. And you'll have the height, the minimum height. By default, the height is auto, which means that if you have something really big in there, which you probably won't, then it actually grows in size. But it's always going to be at least 20 pixels tall. Except if you have how do I do this? Oh, binding. Are you sure? I'm just gonna copy this section from what I used before. So here I'm defining a trigger, which when this value over here is set to the value that I'm expecting, then that means this trigger is going to activate and things are going to happen. Ribbon group. Is that part necessary? No. Okay, and the binding is going to be to the show group header. Alright, and if the value is false, that means we don't want the group header shown, we want it hidden. Which means that we're going to set the height to 0. And the min height also to 0. I'm not sure if this technically makes a difference, but I'm going to put min height first, actually. Knowing WPF, it probably does make a difference. Okay. So that's a feature done. We'll do that. Next, we're going to put in a few buttons here. In the header itself, on the right-hand side, the first button is going to be called... Oh, I'm not going to call it anything. I'm actually going to put in an E. Visibility, template, binding. No. No. Template binding, expanded items. Count. Ooh. Do I need a convert? I think I might need to build a converter for this. One moment. Big sneeze! Sorry about that. Okay. So what this section I'm trying to work on here is that this will be the button that displays the expander. Or, you know, if you have additional commands to show... like this icon down here. But I only want it displayed if there's actually items in the expanded items thing. Is it not called expanded items? Is it called something else? What did I call it? I did call it expanded items. What the heck? Okay. Yeah. For an observable collection, do the observable collections count? Value, is that a... Oh, wow, okay. Oh, boy. Okay. 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 I'm not fully understanding what's going on here. This is obviously taking from a collection. But I think this is just a... I don't know if count is a dependency property then. So I don't know if I can actually bind from that, but I guess we'll find out. A big feature that is in WPF and is actually in most UI frameworks, once you kinda... If you want your UI framework to be taken seriously in today's day and age, you're gonna have this feature, which is... in WPF it's called binding. It's probably called something similar in other languages, but it's the ability for your visuals to change dynamically based upon a value changing, a variable changing in your code. That's pretty generic sounding, but that's pretty much exactly what it is. And in the most basic of context, examples I should say, the most basic example would be something like if there is a control that has a visibility property, which says, is this item visible? Is it actually shown on screen, or is it invisible? Is it hidden? Can you not see it? a very basic example of a binding would be to not draw anything or set everything to be like height of 0 and width of 0 and bind that to the visibility property. So if the visibility ever changes, then change this thing and make it everything the proper height or make everything the height of 0. There's reasons why you wouldn't actually want to do that, but as a very basic example, it would be that. Or you can have a binding for, say, a variable for the background of a control, like what color the control's background is. And then you can use bindings to change that background in different areas of your control as needed. So a lot of the actual magic, quote unquote, of this control and a lot of these controls in not only WPF but in a lot of modern frameworks comes from being able to utilize bindings in this way. Yeah. Woo. So that is what I'm starting off with doing here. Except I'm gonna have to build a converter. Let me actually double check. Hide button here. Okay. Wait a moment here. Okay. So what this is talking about is visible, is enabled, can be bound to expanded items count. Oh. No, that's not working. That's not visible there. Are you sure? Binding selected items. Okay. Okay, next thing. Okay. Sorry, I'm just having to look up a thing. Selected items. This is a list. Bindable. Bindable. Can I do... What happens if I do that? Sure. I don't exactly know what this is doing. You know, I'm just gonna leave that be, and we'll just set the default values. Does it require one? It does. Alright. Bool bindable. True if to use this property. Okay. Let's see if that works. Or if it yells at me. Shouldn't, ideally, hopefully, maybe. It did. Ah! Okay. Why? That's a problem. Okay. Then... Okay. Oh, X type. There we go. Will be setter property. Ooh. Property visibility value collapse. File triggers data trigger binding expanded items count. Do this the other way around. Value 0. Bah. Visibility value collapse. Yay! Perfect. Okay. Jeez, it's already 7:30 and I haven't gotten nearly as far as I thought I might in just an hour. Oh well. Now we're going to copy this again. And I'm going to put this in L. So when we actually load up the thing, you're going to see a little E in the corner and a little L in the corner, potentially. Most likely actually not. But eventually I'm going to replace those with actual drawn icons. Actually, never mind, I can do the drawn icons right now. Where's my menu button? Boopity boopity boop. Path. Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay, I'm just gonna hide all this other stuff. Unfortunately, one thing that I've learned is that I need to keep so this is the control templates and data for all of the other controls. Not all, but like a number of the other controls that I have that right now do the same sort of control template deal that I'm doing here. Ideally, I'd like to separate these out into their own files so that it's not just a giant file here with all of that, but unfortunately, that seems to not be an option. Or if it is an option in WPF, then there's a weird bug that is preventing it from happening. So we have to deal with it. But what I don't have to deal with is a placeholder content. And we're actually going to get rid of these. Alright. Cool. And I'm actually going to copy this because I'm also going to put this down over here. And then we're going to remove this content section. And then what I'm going to do is rather than it being it's going to be do 8. Zero. One moment, let me think about this. What did I do? Okay. Followed by 1. 7. 7, 7. 7, 1. Okay. Should end up with a kind of weird arrow V chevron type of shape. We'll see when we actually look at it. Okay, but this is actually gonna do it for here. Except, let me see if I can do this rather than binding using a style. Let me see if I can instead do visibility binding, template binding, show launcher, converter, static resource, viz converter. That should work. Okay. Alright. That looks like that did work. Yay! Okay. What other things am I not put in here yet? I think for that part we might actually be good. Ooh, one major thing I'm actually going to add on though, and I'm probably going to come through for modifying it later, but that's fine for right now. I'm going to go to, let's do file select, color scheme. There we go. This is a property that I did not, whoa. Oh. Okay. I'm actually gonna hide that section for right now. This is a ribbon group. Ribbon group. A major aspect of my control library, which is again called Solid Shine UI, is that I have a thing called the color scheme, which you can set once in your code, and then everything in your code will use that. I mean, everything in my library will use that color scheme. And the color scheme can be exactly any color that you want, and you can make it any way that you want. So for example, this here has a blue color scheme. Kind of obvious because it's all blue. And you can see this bar on the left is blue, all these buttons are blue, this control is blue, this thing is blue and it's all blue, etc., etc., it's all blue. And then you can also change it to any other color and everything matches. That's one big key feature of my library, and it's all controlled by this thing called the color scheme. So I did not add this to any of the ribbon things last time. So guess what we're gonna do now? Add this to all of the ribbon things from last time. That's the answer. Okay. And for me, it's just easier to just grab a instance of color scheme that I've had in a different control of mine and just copy it over and change it. Cool. And then the big thing is, now that that is set up, that means I can also connect to it using the binding in here. Because that is one big key element of the binding, is being able to bind things like this. Cool. I'm actually going to move this down. Yeah, perfect. Boop, 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 boop. Foreground, and I'm gonna actually Sure, but I think that foreground actually trickles down. One of the few properties that do. That's not exactly the right word, is trickle down, but that's the word I used right then and there, and I'm gonna keep using it. Instead, I'm actually gonna go into here. Foreground is equal to CS, foreground color. To brush. Okay. One of the big things in version 2.0 of my control library, beyond just this ribbon command that we're working on right now, is I'm also going to be redesigning the color scheme thing here to have more features and allow it to be more versatile and flexible than what it is now. But that's not what we're focused on today. So instead, we're going to use what's already there, and I'll be able to change it later. Okay. So I would say that is starting to look pretty solid. Oh boy. Okay. So now we're going to move on to actually designing one of the buttons that you will see in the actual element itself. Style focusable is woo. What I'm actually gonna do is these aspects. We're gonna pull that out. Okay, setter I'm just going to copy that wholesale from that thing, but we're going to change it a little bit. So first of all, in here, I'm actually going to change any instances of the word flat button. I'm going to change it to ribbon. Woo! Ribbon button. Hooray! Cool. And because a ribbon button actually takes from a flat button, all of the elements that are in flat button are gonna also work here. So I'm gonna actually have to change that a bit around. Okay. I'm gonna actually open up. I have an energy drink here. This is called Clutch Energy Drink. And it is made in Random Lake, Wisconsin. Yay! So it is local. I don't actually know. Do I know where Random Lake is? Is that to the north or is that to the south? Now I want to look it up. Random Lake. I think the Random Lake is to the south near Fond du Lac, but I think I'm thinking of something else. I am thinking of something else. Random Lake, is that to the north? Is it by Coleman and Pound? Okay, now I'm gonna go to search. Oh, guess what? It's near Fond du Lac. Not actually that near Fond du Lac. It's closer to Sheboygan and Port Washington, but... Oh. Okay. Anyway. That distraction aside, I'm gonna be drinking this today. We happened to find this at our local grocery store. And we liked it. Rich and I did, so we bought more. Kind of tastes like a hyped up Sprite. Like they took Sprite and then kind of intensified it a little bit. That's kind of exciting. Border default indicator. We're actually not going to have this particular border here at all. Because that is not going to be capable of being a default button. I mean, technically it is still going to be, but I'm not going to visually have anything happen. I'm also going to disable the actual content presenter. Border focus gets to stay though. Cool. Oh, all right. There we go. All right. Oh boy. So for this particular thing, this is going to be the section where I actually have... Did I determine what the patty is going to be? I did. 4, 4, 4, and 2. Oh, okay. Multi-trigger. Okay. Next, I'm actually going to again call upon the code that I've written elsewhere. Ooh, I see. So I'm going to do a similar thing. Control template triggers, trigger property, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So I'm going to have to spend a little bit of time thinking about how to do this. Because I don't want to overwhelm myself that much. Okay. I'm also going to remove any of these commented out sections. Oh. Oh? How does this handle is selected then? Oh. By this section down here is selected is equal to true, then we actually use the selected brush and the selected... Okay, excellent. That's fine. Oops. Not that that really mattered, because it is commented out, so it's probably going to be deleted anyway. But anyway, that's fine. Okay. So in this grid, there's going to be a new grid. Its name is actually going to be button CC. This grid is going to be back to being a no name. So in this grid is where we're going to actually define the visuals of the button itself. All this other stuff that's around here is stuff that changes how the button looks based upon certain properties, like is it enabled, is it disabled, is it selected, is it this or that or whatever. But in this section here, this is where we're going to actually put in the actual button itself. And so there's two things to keep in mind with the ribbon button is that there are two states it can be displayed in. There is the large state, such as this large button over here that has a large icon and then text underneath. There is a smaller state that has the icon on the left, the text to the right, and it's a smaller icon. And more crucially for a ribbon, if you keep an eye on these three commands here, insert, delete, format, as I resize the window, you'll see that that changes from a large state to a small state. And so, crucially, that's the big thing that we have to get right with a with this button, with my own implementation, is the fact that this has to be able to freely switch between the large state and the small state as needed, which it can. Yay. So as a part of that, though, I'm actually going to go through in here and I'm going to go to iRibbon item, standard size, compact size, silver item has a compact border as well. But I think that's going to be used for something else. Instead, here, Bool is compacted. Get set. So this is something that all ribbon items is going to have to answer, or its support is this feature here is compacted. And I could explain what that does, but I'm not going to at this point. Ugh. I'm actually just going to build a new is ribbon, excuse me, ribbon button, bool, false. There we go. And then what I'm also going to do then is I'm going to copy this code over to a ribbon button and a ribbon custom control. I'm going to copy this into custom control. Except I have to then change this to ribbon custom control. There we go. Alright. And I'll sort out what exactly that'll do later. Later being actually right now. But anyway. I see. Okay. And we're actually gonna have to use a multi-trigger here as well. Woo. Get to that later. Okay. So, in order to develop the button, what I'm gonna have to do at this point is I'm just gonna have to try to develop all of these things at once. So that'll be fun. There's a couple aspects that couple ways I could do this. But I think the big way I'm gonna actually do this is by having two child grids. This is gonna be part small. And this is going to be part large. And the excellent thing as well about small, there is a third size that is called icon only. And again, if I resize, if you look at these three here, auto sum, fill, clear, you see how they go from having the text there to the text hiding away and it's just now the icons. Hello, hello. How are you doing? This is the difference between small and icon only. But the thing is, because it's only a difference in hiding away the text, that's easy for me to just kind of sneak into this section here. How are you doing on this day? Okay, and as a part of that, I'm actually going to set a margin. I'm actually personally not going to use the padding, but I will put it in for someone else to use. I don't know. Four, 2, 4. Doing stuff in Zelda now that I beat the final boss. Just doing side stuff to feel finished off with the game. Wow, you actually got to the end already. Well, that's pretty exciting, though. I don't even have the slightest clue at all about how close or far away from the ending. But I'm sure that's kind of exciting, though, that you got to that point. So in this grid, this is the small size here. And we're going to have 2 columns. With this particular button, I do not have to worry about if this button has any sub-items like a menu. All I care about is the icon and the text. I'm going to create a different version later that does support menus, and I'm going to have to think about more. But for now, column definition, whoop, width 16. Yes. I'm not going to give this a name, though. The fewer things that I can name, the better. Width auto. I'm actually going to put in width 2. Is there... Oh, okay. Is there like an actual minimum heart cap? Like you can't even get into the final boss if you don't have X number of hearts? If so, that's interesting. That's an interesting change from Breath of the Wild. Okay, so I have the column definitions here. So in the first column, we're going to slot in an image. The first column, of course, being column 0. And it is going to have the small icon because this is the small size. And it's going to be 16 wide and 16 tall, and that's going to be the end of it. Oh, I see. So it's similar to Breath of the Wild. It's better to just do the dungeons that or come before it anyway. Makes sense, I suppose. So in the next column, the furthest to the right column, I should say, which is column 2, this is where we're going to put in the title. And this column, we're actually going to give a name column padding. This is internal padding, column title. Reason being is because I am actually going to need to change those around later. Okay, that is intriguing. These abilities are better than the champions ones from last time. I am intrigued. I've not gotten to the point where I can... I'm at the point where I can actually go to any of the dungeons, but I'm nowhere near any of the dungeons in my journey. I think with Tears of the Kingdom, this is going to be one of those games where I'm just going to play it for like months and months before I finally finish it. It was the same with me in Breath of the Wild. It took me months, I think years, before I actually finally defeated the final boss there. That is fair, yes. Let's not get too far into spoiler territory at this point. Okay. So now let's move on to developing the large size. So for the large, unlike the small one where we're dealing with icon on the left, text on the right, with the large one now we have icon on the top and it's a larger icon, text underneath. So rather than having columns like this, I'm going to have rows. That's fair enough. I am enjoying the food crafting and the vehicle crafting, but it also, until I get whatever that auto build ability is, or whatever it's called, it's usually a lot more of a pain for me to actually sit down and spend time building a vehicle than it is to just go and do the thing myself. Although I'm trying to consciously put more time into making vehicles than I had before. Because I've caused some weird and fun shit to happen sometimes. With food, I just have to actually remember to get to a cooking pot and actually cook. That's my issue, is I'm not cooking often enough. So that's on me. Lovely. Sounds like a lovely image to show later. Okay. So, here we're going to be looking at rows. And so the first row at the top is going to be where the image is. We're going to give that a height of 32. For a 32 by 32 image. Next, there will be a row that will be another padding type row, but this time I'm not going to name it. Although I might actually come back later and give it a name, depending upon how I decide I want to do things. This row will be where the first line of text goes. This row will be where the second line of text goes. Although I might change that around later too. Finally, that's it. Finally, the last thing I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put in a margin that has a little bit of padding. I'll do... Oh my goodness, I believe there's that many side quests. I totally believe it. I somehow stumble upon some side quests and just do them just by stumbling around is completing some of them. But it is quite fun, though, I will say. Alright. So going on from this, we have, again, an image. We're going to put this in the top row, the first row, which is called row 0. And so this image, since this is a large size, we're going to use the large icon. Oh. Width, height, 32. 32 pixels. And for now, I'm going to put in a single text block. And we're going to put it at that. Actually, max. Line stacking, line height. Line stacking strategy. Block line height. Okay, one moment, please. What is line stacking strategy? WPF text block. Line stacking strategy. Okay, that doesn't explain anything. Okay. Oh, that doesn't actually... How that goes into typography type stuff. That's not what I'm looking for. So the big thing that I'm worried about, that I'm gonna have to figure out a solution to. So you see here how there is text not only on like one line, but it actually goes 2 lines of text. But most importantly, it does not go down to 3 lines. I'm not sure if I have a good example that would prompt a 3rd line type of deal. Because Microsoft is pretty good with making their commands pretty short named. But this could be an example. We could, in theory, in the right circumstances, if it was built differently, we could have lookup, enter, and enter reference, 3 lines. But instead, it's always only locked to a maximum of 2. Which means that I need to think about... Well, actually, okay. Let me think about something. I'm curious. I'm going to try out something here. One moment, please. Maybe not. Ooh. This is actually rendering now. It didn't before. I'm going to put in a new text block and I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to reset the font. Boop. Font size to 12. Max height 32. And then max width, let's just say 200. This is a lengthy line of text that does a lot of things and says a lot of words. Line wrapping, text wrapping. W. Okay. But and then I keep adding on more words and more words, and then I just keep on going, and there's more, even more words here. Okay. So what that tells me, wrap with overflow. Yeah. Is that I could in some way take advantage of the fact that the max height does do that. So I might not have to use two separate text blocks, and I could instead just do Okay, but that means I'm gonna actually make that 36. Which that also means I'm gonna actually move this and do that instead. I'm just gonna actually make that like that. $16 plus 16 is 32. 32 plus 4 is 36. Which means I need to take an extra 2 off of something else. Because right now, this is not the correct size. 32 plus 2 plus 30. Hello. 32 plus 2 plus 36. And this needs to be 72. Because then if I add on 2, 2, 2... Oops. Yeah, because it's not 72 right now, it's 76 high. Dang, man. What can I do? Are we sure that... Okay. Alright. Anyway, so let's actually fill in what this text block is going to do. This is going to be the text that, again, displays the title of the group name that we're looking at. Okay. And from there, we have the large icon of title. I also did not keep the border size in mind. Ah, dang. There's a lot more things to consider that I haven't actually done. What is the default padding for a flat button? I think I set the default actually in code. Yeah, 5050. Which is 5 on the left and right, none on the top and bottom. Okay. Because the things that I'm figuring out, or need to figure out, is that there needs to be an extra 1 pixel to allow for text at the icons at the top and bottom. We do that, but then we're left with the issue where there actually is not enough room left on the inside for me to render both the text and the icons. I might have to look at a height of higher than 32. Okay. Let's take some measurements. That's not the thing I'm looking for. What am I looking for? This. Using this nifty screen ruler tool. Ooh, the whole ribbon itself is 100, whereas I had built mine to be 96. That means that they afforded themselves an extra 4 pixels. Or what? Oh. Okay, that didn't actually help. Let's see. Okay. Here, let's take a peek. Oh boy. That is... that is a shot. Not a pretty shot, I would say. You don't really get the best angle. You didn't show their best angle. That's lovely, though. I like that. Huh. Now. Dang it. Okay. Here's what I'm gonna have to do. Screenshot of this. It was pretty cursed. Yeah. So I want to figure out how Microsoft does their sizing. So that image is 24 pixels high, just like mine. What is the height of their text? Is that really 9-point text? Let me see if I have text down here to compare it against. Why is that also 9? It's 11. It's 11-point text. I'm gonna assume then. Also, these two are not lined up correctly. Ooh. Okay. 12. That's definitely 12-point text, I'm gonna say. Okay. Alright. So then that leads me to my next question. What is the height of this? Whoa. Oh, God. Okay. $76. But then 24 plus 24 plus 24 is 72. Isn't it? Yeah. So then where does that... There's probably an extra pixel of spacing in between these, I'm gonna say. Correct. There's an extra pixel of spacing. Okay. Gar. Okay. Because they're probably bumped into the same issue, and that's the compromise I decided upon. That I'm trying to not do. Oh, excuse me. Okay. Because I'm gonna have to squeeze out an extra pixel here somewhere. And I'm already running out of space. $32, $36. Does this actually display? I'll find out. I don't understand if it's 12-point text. Why does it need 30? Does it actually need 36? Because 32 is already a lot more than 12. Bah. Okay. I'm going to put this back to 32. I'm going to say that my logic from earlier is probably flawed in some way. Okay, which then gives me an extra 8 pixels to work with. Okay. So then extra 8, and then I subtract 4 there. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay. Perfect, I think. I'm actually going to do that, just in case that's actually the better scenario there. Anyway, now that all of that is done, now we can actually move on, because now I have that. See, that is what happens with, like, me in programming sometimes, is I get, like, I go into just, like, random rabbit holes as I'm trying to figure out a singular and particular thing. And then I have to... Ooh, excuse me. And then I have to pull myself back out of that rabbit hole and back into the thing I was doing. Get back in the larger picture. But I think I figured it out for this. We have the icon size, we have the text in there. I'll figure out the whole text thing later. Max height of 34. Line height. 34 divided by 2 is 17, isn't it? 17. Line height 17. Line stacking strategy, block line height, max height. Yeah. Maybe it's best I'm just gonna leave that be right now. Okay. Alright. Because my next concern... Yeah, I'm gonna have to give more thought into how I'm gonna do that. I don't know, maybe WPF will actually handle that automatically for me, or I might have to look up how it's done in WPF's ribbon or in the Fluent ribbon. But anyway, for now, that is solid, that is set. So now we're gonna go into a fun little thing over here. Which I am gonna call... I don't know, I'm not gonna call it anything. I should give this a different padding value. Cool. Oops, not 11. Alright. So now we're actually gonna put in the logic that tells the button which size to use based upon the combination of standard size property, is compact size property, and is compacted property. Which, for reference, these are the items in here. So standard size is, barring anything else, this is the size that the button is going to try to aim for. And the three options are large, small, and icon only. And you can tell the button which one you want. By default, for a ribbon button, I don't have it open. By default, for a ribbon button, I believe I've set the standard size to large. Compact size is used when the ribbon's gonna tell the button that it needs to get smaller. The compact size will be what size it uses at that point, which again could be large, small, or icon only. Ideally, it'll probably be small. And then this will actually tell, this will be what tells the button whether it needs to be small or large, or more specifically needs to be the compact size, or it can be its standard size. So, if is compacted is true, we need to use the compact size and see what this value is to determine how to make the button look. If is compacted is false, then we'll use the standard size and use that to determine how the button will look. So with that in mind, that gives us 4 states, actually 6 states we have to consider. Whoop, and I did this wrong. I'm actually going to give this button element size states. And I'm gonna put a little comment over here. Other triggers from flat button. Yay! So the first condition that we're going to set up is going to be compact is compacted false. And then one moment here. One moment. Also, this isn't displaying the desktop notification. Oh. Let's turn that off. There we go. Okay. That's why you weren't seeing the notifications telling you what song was playing. Oh boy. Alright. Anyway, so getting back to this, so the first condition we're going to consider is compacted as false. We're going to use the standard size in that result. And then we'll do that. Why is it upset about is compacted? It's probably because I didn't build it yet with this new command in there. Or property, I should say. Alright. One moment. Cool. Right. Actually, no. We don't need to do 3. We only need to do 2. Oh. Or 6. We only need to do 2. Maybe. We'll see. I'll still keep it as a multi-trigger just in case I need to go back and change that. And we're looking at part small value. We're gonna bind that. Ooh. Okay. Let's try it this way and we'll see if this works. Otherwise, I might have to come back and do that. Oh. Hey, Squibble! You went back under? Hey, boy! My goal today is I really want to get this to a point where something is visible on screen. You go. I got this backwards. Oops. And 2 things from here that I will do, call padding value 0. Call title value 0. Okay. So now what I'm actually gonna do, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I just copied the same code 3 times. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to set this to true for these bottom 3. For all single one of these 6 states that this could be, the only 4 things that we need to change are these 4 values here. One moment, please. For the original, I didn't set one. Okay, one moment. Now let's see if this works. We'll see. So now I'm going to be changing what these other side of the conditions are. Oh, compact size. And ideally, hopefully this works. Okay, so now we have standard size large, standard size small, standard size icon only, and then the control needs to be compacted, compact size large, compact size small, and then compact size icon only. With those, we'll change this to 2 and auto. Make sure that the small icon and small text is visible, and the large icon and large text is invisible when it's either small or icon only. And we'll do the exact same thing here again. Make sure only the small text and small icon are visible. And the large is not visible. There we go. And then finally, we'll make small work. Okay. So ideally from here, now, this should be good. So, okay. We have the button, and we have the ribbon group. I think for now, that's the parts where I need. And then later what I'll have to do is I'll add on the ribbon menu button, which is based upon the menu button. Maybe I'll do that now, maybe I probably won't. So instead now, let's start by actually testing out the UI and seeing if it's going to actually work. This will not be the full ribbon that we're showing here. Instead, we're going to be showing a single group that would appear on the ribbon. But this is the first step as part of a larger journey. Okay, so we have this. I'm actually going to copy this over into here, except I'm going to call this ribbon test. And the thing that we're not testing, again, we're not actually going to be testing the ribbon, but instead we're going to be testing, excuse me, ribbon group. Margin height of 96. Margin, let's put it at 60, 60, 0, 0. Vertical alignment top, horizontal alignment left. Okay. So with this, the next thing I'm going to put in is title, group title, and then show launcher true. Next, I'm gonna put in ribbon group. Ribbon group items. We're gonna put in ribbon button. Title button 1. Standard size, large, compact size. Oops. Large. And then I will also set its large icon and small icon. Do I have any large icons already in my system? In this thing? I do not. Alright. Let me add in some icons. So I'll start with adding in a couple small icons. We'll go from there. Copy, download, and I don't know, Excel file. And save. Let's do save. Save is a fun icon to have. Save. Save. Cool. So I added those. Next, I'm going to add on the 32 size versions of those. So I'll find those same ones again. Oh goodness, we heard something, I guess. Copy. Oh wait. Okay. We're gonna actually have to put them into a new folder called 32. And then that. Nettled? I've never heard of... I don't think I've heard that word before. Where's the refresh option? It doesn't have a refresh option. Okay, cool. Add existing item. And then in here, let's put in... But yeah, he's upset about something. Probably a noise that he heard outside. Disgruntled. Okay. But yeah, he's probably definitely heard a noise outside. Save. And then download. He senses a presence. Yeah. But if it's a neighbor that is like throwing out their trash or something like that, he gets upset about that. So he goes off on just inane things. Alright. Yeah, we have icons. Okay. So I'm going to set the icons. Probably, oops, that's not the item I'm looking for. Probably not in here. I'm gonna have to go to miscellaneous. Large icon, we'll set that to that. Small icon, we'll set that to that. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'll be honest, the fact that nothing's showing up in the designer is not boding well for nothing showing up in here. Oops. Ribbon test. Ribbon test. Cool. Alright, and this I'm just gonna name. Cool. Okay. Walls. That would be an impressive feat if true. Big if true. Okay. Oh my goodness, Scrabble is howling from downstairs. I don't know if you can hear it. I am gonna go see what little boy is up to. I will be right back. Woo! Okay, I'm back. And I'm gonna actually try to not have the headphones on. So I won't be able to hear the music, but you'll be able to. But ideally, there shouldn't be anything else that I need to hear. It's all visual stuff that I'm doing right now. Yeah. So I think Scrabble was howling because he was just downstairs by himself and he doesn't know where my parent went. This is very upsetting. I do not know how the alphabet works, apparently. Ribbon test. Troublemaker is back. He's way over there somewhere. Okay. This is just me actually setting up the test window, test pane that I'm gonna end up using. So that we can actually begin testing the visuals. Oh boy, what now? Oh, okay. I know the source of that problem. Excuse me. One moment. Content property items. Boop boop.
Scribble! Now he's back over here. I'm gonna hit the hay for the evening, though. That's very relaxing to be a part of. Well, thank you for coming by. Yeah. I guess that's kind of my goal here, is to, even if it isn't a very... I don't know. I guess my goal is just to, yeah, have a nice, relaxing little stream type deal. Doesn't necessarily have to be something where people are actively involved in doing stuff. Just kind of nice to have on to listen to, or maybe watch. I think that's my goal. So I hope you had a good time, and I hope my stream more or less did that for you. Okay. And also, I'm probably going to note this right now, that as much as I'd like to do as much as I can on stream to kind of show the process of what I'm doing, I might work on this stuff a bit more. It's going to fail again, actually. I forgot to do a thing. Okay. I might want to work on this a bit more outside of stream. You have a good night as well. Glad you had a good time. Okay. And now here's... Ooh. Okay. We're starting to get some errors. This is the big... Let me guess. Hey. Stupid little thing, and I wish that Visual Studio did this for me automatically, but it does not. Okay. I guess that's just gonna hang out here. Okay. Okay. There we go. That should take care of that problem. Alright. Now let's try again. Silly little stupid stuff that you have to kind of take care of sometimes. Oh, great. What? Oh my god. Ow. Because this should be... This is a resource. What is the issue? What? Okay. So this is unfortunately what we end up with sometimes, is getting weird errors that I'm not expecting for some weird reason that I have to sort out. Let's open up tab control. Yes, what did I do for... Oh, that's the same. Isn't it? That can make the difference. Something small like that. Yes, it is. Wow. This is ridiculous. Okay. Well, nothing showed up. I got the sneaking suspicion that that might end up being the case. So now I want to figure out why did nothing show up. Ribbon group. This doesn't even have anything else underneath it. Why? Something tells me this template didn't load for some reason. It should have, because I had it clear the default style key. There's something that I didn't do here that I should have. No! It looks all correct.
I'm gonna try something ridiculous. Let's see what that does. What? No, that did not. So that tells me something else is going on. Okay. But yet again, there's nothing in there. So why not? Why not? Okay. I'm gonna get rid of that line. So what is it that I'm missing here that should be present but somehow isn't? Is it something like I need to clean and then I'm just gonna hit rebuild solution? Maybe it's that? I don't know. Okay, because this takes from... Oops, that's ribbon button. Ribbon group takes from control, and I reset the static thing, and I also give it a standard thing. Is there something else I'm missing that I need to do? No, 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 no. No, I don't think so. I figured it out. Okay. That's the source of it, I think. Alright. I don't know if Ribbon Tab has to answer to that. This thing definitely does, but it's already correct. Okay. Now let's try again. I think that might have been the source of the problem. Okay. Haha. That was indeed the source of the problem. Excellent. Cool. There are some binding errors apparently with the brushes not appearing. Oh, the icon didn't appear here. Also, oh. Okay. We're gonna actually do a couple things to fix up a couple things here. So first of all, this one min height is going to be instead 16. Also, same deal here. In the min height 16. Okay. I'm actually gonna surround this with a border. And put all this here. For reasons of allowing that dividing line between the grid title and the rest of the group title and the rest of the group that I had talked about previously. Right now, that dividing line is not going to show up, but it's okay. The next aspect that isn't working is the color scheme, but I might be able to sort that out later. Why? Oh, I need to also remove the padding. Okay. Okay. Where are we at? Here it is. Okay. Adding. Let's just make it 1. Adding a 1. All around. All around 1. Oops. Okay. Dang. Or ding. I don't know. Bang. Bam. Words. Alright. So I just kind of went over a number of things without actually explaining anything. That is still not correct. And also I need to give it actually 2 on the left. And why is the icon not actually displaying? That's what I'm wondering. Because it can't actually get the fill-ins. Reason? Foreground. Foreground. Excuse me, that was a sneeze. I'm actually gonna then remove that, and we're gonna do that. And ideally, maybe, hopefully, that'll be good. Alright. Oh, that's part of the issue, actually. I'm gonna remove the margin value. That's gonna be why the button is so weirdly wide. Excuse me. Okay. And then ideally what we should have now, yeah, is that button appears. Okay. Next, this text needs to do a vertical center. Excellent. Okay. There's one last major element that I actually need to add on to the border group that I have not yet. But this is a solid start. I'm actually going to increase the margin by 3. The next thing that I actually want to test though, so we have one button in there and one button works. The next thing that I need to do is get multiple buttons to work. Cool. And the next thing I'm actually also gonna do here is I'm actually gonna come with this. So for iToolbar item, I'm actually going to also make sure that it has a color scheme property so that we can actually pull into that for the ribbon button and any other ribbon or toolbar controls that I use later on. I'm going to make sure, so ribbon button already has that. The other thing that I built is the iCustom. So for that, I'm actually going to pull it from. I'm going to put it right here. One moment, please. Where is the item? Oh, color scheme. It's going to be actually ribbon custom control and ribbon custom control. Excellent. All right. Now from that, I should be able to call into the ribbon group and do that. I think. I don't know.
I'll have to think about that later, but for now the buttons are just going to appear as gray. But I guess that works. Alright. Next one is... Oh. Okay. Alright. Now we're gonna refresh. Actually, we're not gonna refresh. We're gonna build first, and then we're gonna do that. Alright. Okay. Excellent. So I'm gonna name this button 2, and we're gonna use... of course, it doesn't have something for that. Alright. We're going to use... Let's use save color .png. Except, let's do that. And then this will also be save color. And then 3, 4, 5, except we're going to make this standard size small. Standard size small. Ooh. Standard size small. Ooh. Okay. That's fine. We're figuring this out. Download color. I just want to give it a different icon. And sure, those can just stay as small. Alright. So this wrap panel is not doing the wrapping that I expected to do. No direction. Nope. That controls RTL, which is not what I'm doing. Wrap panel, common cursor. No. What am I not understanding about how the wrap panel works? Orientation vertical. Let's see what that does. I think that might be the solution. My frame rate tanks while the thing is building, but I guess that's to be expected because the computer's doing a lot of work while building is happening. I should specifically say this frame rate of the stream. Yes! That turned out perfectly. Alright. So now the buttons are actually aligned in a row, or a column, on top of each other, like they're supposed to. So now we have that. Excellent. So yeah, that is a single group there. So let's replicate this group right here by using the icons won't match up in any sense of the word, but that's fine. We'll do that. Oops, no, that one will stay small. Large. Large. And then we'll call this auto sum, fill, and clear. And then we can call this one sort and filter. And, yeah. And this one we can call find and select. Okay.
And then the group title, instead of just being group title, is going to be editing. And technically it doesn't have a launcher, so I will just hide. Alright. Which means now, when we open this up, AutoSum, fill, clear, sort and filter, find and select. That's gonna match up right here with what we have up here, with what Excel has up there. Of course, the icons don't match, and these are just buttons rather than being menus, like these are all menus. But... oh, I just realized you're not seeing any of that. So these are matching up with these. I just realized I did all of that off screen from the stream. So yeah, AutoSum, fill, clear, sort and filter, find and select, AutoSum, fill, clear, sort and filter, find and select. These are now matching, except of course the icons and the fact that these actually are buttons and not menus. But that is a big step, I think, that we got done. Because now these things are appearing and they're also working, getting sorted out the way that they're supposed to. A big difference though is that, say the AutoSum is a really big button, takes up the full width. Fill, by comparison, because it's a shorter word, doesn't take the full width of this thing here. So this is a wide button, this is a pretty narrow button. Whereas here, because AutoSum is wide, everything else below it is also wide. Fill and clear, for example. Technically, I'm not sure if that should be allowed. There might be a way to maybe make this not be as big. Maybe. But I'm actually not going to worry about that right now. That might be a later problem. Hello! How are you doing? But for now, I'm pretty happy with how that is. Now let's see if I can quickly being the keyword, put together a menu button. Ribbon menu button. And a big part of how this is going to work is by copying the code that I made for ribbon button, but then replacing the word ribbon button with ribbon menu button. So by copying all the code from ribbon menu button, from ribbon button into ribbon menu button, then that just makes it a lot quicker for me, because now I don't have to write any of this stuff again. And because these kind of all inherited from the same type of thing, I would otherwise be writing the same code again. The only difference is that ribbon button came from a flat button. It used all the features of that, whereas the ribbon menu button is going to instead use all the features come from a menu button. Yay! Now we're going to go back into here, and once again I'm going to copy all of the visual code from ribbon button, and instead I'm going to call this ribbon menu button. Why is it upset? Oh, because it's a new thing. Okay. Alright. And now we're waiting. It's done. Yay. Anyway, I said I had said hello, but I'm not sure if you had seen or heard, but that is okay.
But either way, hello again if you did not hear before. I hope you're doing okay. Alright. Okay. Didn't want you to think that I had, like, not seen your thing and not responded. But okay. I haven't seen you in forever. Yeah. Probably the same. I've not seen many people in forever, I'll be honest. I've not been the best at actually reaching out to people to watch, to hang out with. I'm looking. This code makes you physically angry. That's... I mean... Okay. It's, to some extent, I suppose, that I can understand. The college classes. Oh... Okay. Understandable, I suppose, yeah. But that is totally fine if this is a thing that you want to have on in the background. I am totally good with that. I hope, my idea, hopefully, is that this is just kind of a nice relaxing thing that people can have on in the background while they're doing stuff. That's a hope, at least. So the big difference between just a standard ribbon button and the ribbon menu button is going to be the addition of a little menu icon on the side. Well, thank you, I love you too, I think about the random anime often. Is there like a specific random anime you're talking about, or any particular ones? I need to find where I made the icon so I can make the little menu arrow that appears on the side. This is not where I'm looking for. Responsible Captain Tyler, we all watch. We did all watch. Oh yeah. Yeah, that one was a really interesting one. Captain Tyler was. But it was fun. The pizza order. Are you talking about the pizza order from Anime Milwaukee? That we attempted to do and did not work? Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes, that is still a story that gets passed around by me and Tyler today to our friends, some of our other friends. Oh my goodness, that was a fun time. Still saddening that we couldn't actually get that pizza. I would have loved to actually see that in person. For context, a number of us, when we were at Anime Milwaukee a couple years ago, or if you still have the full order, I would love to see that, because I don't actually remember exactly what it was anymore. But yeah, we had, I think it was late at night, like around 10 or 11 p.m. We found a local pizza place in Milwaukee, and we ordered a ridiculous custom pizza. Had like multiple different types of cheeses, a bunch of croutons, vegetables. I think we might have put some sort of noodle on there. I don't know if that got overruled. And so we had specifically ordered that, and I think I'd also ordered a thing of puppy chow or something. I don't know, I'd also ordered a side snack thing. But they called me about a couple minutes after I'd put in the order and said that they wouldn't be able to make that pizza or something like that, and that they'd refund me 52 croutons. Oh. But I think honestly I'm not too surprised, because the place was probably only
running on like minimum staff and having to, excuse me, sit there and having to deal with this ridiculous pizza probably was beyond what they wanted to deal with at that point. And they probably weren't that far off from closing. Yes, the Cardpocalypse, that name I remember. And if you don't have exactly 52 croutons on that pizza, I am not going to pay for any of this. In fact, I'm going to take money back from the driver. I believe the phrase went. We didn't actually say that, though, thank goodness. Anyway, oh yes, I was making... Did I actually copy the code? No. Wait, what did I copy? Okay. Alright. I am gonna grab this from here, I guess, because this is where I'm at in my life. Okay. And we're gonna put it right here. Grid column 3. And this one as well, we're gonna do fill. Oh, wait. No, the fill and the stroke will still do. Template binding. Foreground. Vote. Template binding. Foreground. Alright. Okay. We're gonna do that. Let's see if that worked. Do not count exactly 52 croutons on that pizza. I will not tip the driver. In fact, take money from him. I will mug the driver. You have been warned. Yes, that's what the phrase was. You're correct. Oh, does this not have... Let's see if that works. Otherwise, I might actually have to... not do that. Anyway, that's fine. Okay. Perfect. Alright, so that is the icon for the small size, which means that for the smaller size things, it should now appear. For the large size, though, that is where we're going to actually deal with the more complicated layout. A column definitions. So for Excel, going back to this example, how they have their menus on little menu arrow for their menu buttons is they actually have the arrow. If it's one line of text, the arrow is just here by itself below. If it's 2 lines of text, it gets added on to the bottom line of text. If I wanted to put in the time and effort, I could do a similar thing here, but at least for now, what I'm just gonna do is I'm just gonna always keep it off to the right of the text, and we can sort it out later. And so then, as a part of that, though, I'm going to make this grid column. The image still needs to span across the entire width of the button. And the
arrow is going to actually just be here. Grid row 2. Okay. In theory, this should now be complete. Fingers crossed. We should now have the ribbon menu button in addition to the ribbon button. Alright. So, that being said, let's give this a test by making this a ribbon menu button. Oops, something changed. And then what should happen when this gets opened up is we should have shiny eye. There we go. Item 1. Menu item 2. Oh, you found the full list. Cardpocalypse pizza. Skinned potatoes, tater tots, french fries, tortillas, all kinds of cheese, probably every selection they had available. Mac noodles, macaroni noodles, okay, penne noodles, lettuce, 52 croutons, salsa, a bun, and all wrapped in a tortilla. Oh boy. That is ridiculous. Oh my goodness. Okay. So it kind of works. I got it to kind of work. It does not highlight when you actually have the thing open, but you can actually click on it and get the menu to appear. Excellent. Now let's test it on one of the smaller sizes. And it's probably going to do the same thing, which means I'm going to have to figure out why those visuals aren't working. But that's fine. I would be curious to try that pizza at some point. Maybe not the all wrapped in a tortilla portion. But the other parts, maybe. Because that seems, the all wrapped in a tortilla thing seems a bit impossible. Ooh, that's an issue. Oh, it does. Okay, and it's an issue because... Okay, I get it. Alright, I'm gonna have to figure out why... Excuse me, I'm gonna have to figure out why when you put your mouse over this, it doesn't actually... highlight like these things do. But other than that, the menu is actually here and it is present and it is working. So I'm gonna take that as a good thing that we got done. There's a couple other minor things that also aren't really rendering correctly. I wonder why. Let me see if I can maybe spend a moment on this and see if I can figure it out. Okay. Because the border is definitely working. Transparent back is true. But the stuff inside the border is working, I should say. But somehow the actual border itself isn't. But why? borders. The background is... Well, with the transparent back, the background will be set to transparent. Focusable. Opacity. Okay. Huh. This should all work. Oh. That might be the issue. Okay. That might be the issue. Okay, let's try that again now. I think that's probably wise because there's a couple of things that I didn't change from ribbon button to ribbon menu button. When I need to copy and change everything over, I have to make sure I copy and change everything. There we go. The border isn't actually appearing, but that's okay. That's something else that I probably can get sorted out. But at least for now, it's acting a little bit weird, but it's good. It's got the spirit. Alright. So for that, I'm actually satisfied with where we've left that for now. We got things to appear here, and we are a number of steps closer to actually getting the whole ribbon to work. This, I think, is a number of major steps forward, because now we can actually display the items. We got commands, we got them sorted into a group, and if needed, the group can display a launcher. Which, that icon that I have there in the corner is not going to be the permanent icon. I'm going to have to change that later. But at least for now, it makes it pretty obviously clear that it's something. Yeah. Okay, yeah, something there is... Oh, okay. Alright. Okay. There's a couple other places that actually aren't updated to say ribbon menu button where it says ribbon button. But that's okay. Like here. Okay. I'm gonna fix these few things, and then now that should be good, and then after that we're gonna end the stream. Because at this point I will have been going for over 2 hours, and while I made a lot of progress, I also need to get going and doing other stuff. And I'm pretty satisfied with the progress that I've made, so I don't need to actually sit here and mess with that. One last thing that I'm also gonna do, focus all. That way it doesn't try to focus on the entire group when it shouldn't. Okay. There we go. Alright. Now it's all solid. Okay, that didn't work. Alright. Let's maybe instead see if that's the issue. Okay, last thing. So at this point we're just dealing with a lot of just minor stuff. Because in broad strokes overall it is working. Yes, I got it. Alright, excellent. So yeah, I would say that's pretty good for today. Got it going, and it's working, and yeah. I'm satisfied with that. And now I'm ready to move on, and we can continue with this on another stream. At this point, I have a lot of the basics sorted out, so I'm just gonna have to figure out another day to do the next stream. Maybe next week. Maybe the week after. I'll have to sit down and think about it. A regular scheduled stream might be good. I think I would like that. But I don't know, like a regular same time every week type thing. But I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to commit to that. But for now, I definitely want to do another one of these streams soon. Because it is actually fun to just do this as a part of a stream. And just on here and have people hop by and ideally share stories and stuff like that, and it is fun. And I made good progress. So I'm very happy with this. And hopefully the next streams will have more progress that is being made. The most important thing is that indeed I do have the visuals now getting started. They're still gray. I'm gonna have to figure out what is going on, why it's not blue like this, but that's fine. Or what I can do about that, I should say. But yes. Anyway, I'm satisfied with this. I'm going to move on now to other things. And yeah, and we will see each other again soon with more progress hopefully to be made. So thank you for everyone who came by and said hello or just hung out or any or all of the above. And I hope you have a good night. And this was a lovely time, and I want to do this again soon. But for now, I will head off. So I'll probably do another stream highlight thing that I had done before. I'm seeing here something that maybe some clips have been made. I don't know. I'll have to take a look. But yeah, and I guess as for the purposes of that highlight, the things that we got done for today is we got this visual aspect done. So we have a single group here. We got buds on that group. We got the launcher working. And it's working pretty much flawlessly. So yeah. I realize in retrospect maybe I haven't done the best with explaining every single little thing along the way as I was going. But that is something I will have to figure what to do later. I think at some point I got more excited about actually getting something on screen and less excited about explaining what I was doing. But something I'll need to work on. Either way, at some point I will also have to sit here and I don't know what I'm saying. Either way, for the future maybe I'll go through and more of a deeper dive into actually what's happening here. But I think in broad strokes I did explain overall what's happening. So we'll see when I come back and work on editing the stream. But for now, I hope you all have a good night. Now I'm properly heading out. Hope you have a good night. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.